Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Now we got another video from the Daily Caller. Shout out to them because they've been putting out some very good content for us to react to. And it's titled, apparently Republicans are making up the issue of crime. Now I imagine this is probably going to be a video, some sort of compilation of Democrats saying incredibly dumb things about crime. And that's what we're here to react to. Alright, so don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into it.
So crime is apparently not real, just a phantom of the GOP's imagination.
They have this conspiracy going all across America to try and convince people that in democratic states they're not as safe.
Now, why would Republicans make up this entire scandal about crime to win over voters when they could easily, I don't know, like tell you that, democracy itself is at stake?
I think the media, has a responsibility in this. And I think you obviously are doing this with a headline show on Deadline Democracy, and you do it every day. But there's too much reporting on something voters already are aware of, and not enough on what voters may be unaware of, which is the threat to democracy, and then what that might mean.
I haven't heard as many people talking about democracy as I do today. I think they're aware of the threat of democracy. If you're tired of the left talking about democracy, drop a like on the video, man, because it seems like that's all they talk about ever since January 6th. That is the only thing they bring. That's their favorite thing to bring up. January 6th, democracy, abortion, and so on.
And help people understand that without an underlying functioning democracy, it doesn't matter what your gas prices are, baby. It won't matter whether or not you're paying $5 for a gallon of gas or $2 for a loaf of bread. What will matter is you won't be able to afford anything because you can't vote, you can't freely assemble, you're on hit lists, our Congress is dysfunctional. All these things are...
I mean, this isn't even the point of the video, what I'm about to bring up, but listen to the way that he's talking. If you listen to what he's saying and you happen to believe it, you would think that if you don't vote, you're going to lose your right to vote. America's going back to, I don't even know when, back to when women couldn't vote. Like, it sounds so bad the way he describes it. And I just think it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me how, because I can hear when he says what he's saying, he believes that it's true. It's fascinating to me that people can be, persuaded to believe that this stuff is true. There are people who actually believe that democracy is on the ballot. If you don't vote Democrat, you're going to lose democracy in the country.
They're linked together.
So midterms are just days away. Democrats are polling pretty poorly, and unfortunately for Democrats, they hinged a lot of their hopes on abortion being this, major driving factor for voters. But as it turns out, people care more about whether or not they can feed their kids versus whether or not they can kill their kids tomorrow, right? So naturally, Democrats now have to move on to every single other talking point the Republicans have to hopefully salvage any chance they have at holding on to the House. So right now, it's, the economy. It's not that bad. Democrats can fix inflation. Democrats also had no hand in inflation. You guys get it, the same old talking points. But when it comes to crime, it turns out that crime is simply non-existent. The problem is not really real. The fear that you feel walking down the street, fake, right? The triple F, the fake fear you feel. That's at least what Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul wants you to believe. Have a full listen to that clip.
Right now, these are master manipulators. They have this conspiracy going all across America to try and convince people that in democratic states they're not as safe. Well, guess what? They're also not only election deniers, they're data deniers. The data shows that shootings and murders are down in our state by 15%, even in New York City, down 20% on Long Island, where Lee Zeldin comes from. And it's the Republican states where they have almost no restrictions on guns. Because of the abundance of guns, people are killing each other with more frequency. The safer places are the Democratic states.
All right, so
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys. I live in a blue state. I live in Illinois, very close to the city of Chicago. I just don't believe it. I would love to see the data. I'll look at the data for myself, but crime. And she's talking about New York City specifically. I would need to see the data for that, but I don't buy that crime is going down by any measurements. Sometimes when these people collect data, they tend to leave out things or find a way to make the data skew in a more favorable way to their narrative. That's why some data you do have to, you gotta carefully vet certain data that you're getting. But I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. I would feel much safer in a place where I'd be able to, carry carry a firearm, without having to go through so many loopholes. But yeah, I've never personally lived in a red state. I've been in Chicago my whole life, you guys, and yeah, the danger is real. Even before recent spikes in crime, it's always been something we've been aware of.
I just want to stop it here because Democrats will take any chance they get to skew the data. So they're trying to convince you that Republican states are more dangerous than blue states. So let's look at the facts. Take a look at New York, for example. Between 2018 and 2020, there was a 3.7 increase in violent crime. Now, let's look at, let's say, Florida, a popular red state. During that same time period, 2018 to 2020, there was actually a 0.6% decrease in violent crime. But let's take it a step further, because historically, Florida has had higher crime rates than New York. But the difference is that between 2018 and 2020, New York saw an increase in violent crimes, whereas Florida saw a decrease. So, in fact, it is getting more dangerous in blue states. But let's take it a step further. Democratic New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is pissed that Republicans are out there, shamelessly promoting this theory about crime.
Listen, the other guys play the crime card relentlessly and shamelessly. It seems every election. And the facts and their portrayal of the facts are in entirely different places. That doesn't mean that crime is not an issue. It doesn't mean that we're not focused on it. But I will just say in New Jersey this year, violent crimes, shooting, homicides are all down meaningfully between something like 15 and 30%.
So got some more data, right? So crime in New York City subways up 41% as of October 17th. That's according to CNN.
The data does not seem to be on their side.
Overall crime in New York City increased more than 15% in September of 2022 year over year. Take a look at Philadelphia, run by Democrats, of course. There's been a 3% rise in overall shootings and a 7% surge in violent crime as of October 20th. Democrat-run cities nationwide, they saw the highest increase in homicide rates in the second quarter of 2022 when compared with the same time in both 2021 and 2020. Okay, we're talking New Orleans, we're talking Baltimore, Louisville, Milwaukee, Washington, D.C. And here's the best part. Voters see it too, right? So 68% of voters, they consider crime to be a very important issue, according to a Harvard Capps-Harris poll. And being that midterms are usually a referendum on the president, the news doesn't bode too well for Democrats, because a Monmouth University poll found only 32% of respondents had a favorable view of Biden's handling of crime. So when it comes down to it, voters aren't buying Democrats' narrative that, that crime is made up. Crime isn't as bad as Republicans are trying to convince you it is. I'll tell you what, go visit the voters who are walking the streets of New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and ask them, do you feel safe? And if you're a Democrat, chances are you're not going to like their answer.
All right, you guys, that's it for the video. And I just want to say shout out to the Daily Caller, because they also provided those facts. I was going to go look that stuff up right after, and I still might, but they provided some actual facts, some charts, some evidence for us to see. That lady got up on the news and said that the data shows that crime is not rising, but we saw the data and she was just lying. All right, like they tend to do all the time. We live, they can push whatever narratives they want, but the people that live on the ground in these places, some people have been there all their lives, and living in lower income areas, and we see this stuff. And also, a new trend, crime, homelessness, things like that is starting to move out more into the more expensive areas. So crime is definitely not getting worse. And the way to solve it is addressing it, not pretending that it doesn't happen. Again, I live in Chicago, and I think something common amongst blue states is things like justice reform, prison reform, bail reform. They're trying to try these new things out where they're letting people go. They're a lot more lenient on crime in blue states. That we have offenders here in Chicago who get out 4, 5, 6, 7 times and still committing crimes. Why is that happening? It's because the way we do things over here aren't like the way to do things in red states. They're not as lenient on crime in red states. And that's the point that everyone's trying to make here. That's either going over their head or they're purposely choosing to ignore for their own benefit. But that's it for the video, you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next in the comments down below. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.